Hi, this is Glenn Isherwood bringing you an on-the-ground report from Down Under. I'm here in Melbourne, Australia at the International Union for Geodesy and Geophysics General Assembly, IUGG for short. There's two LIM members here, myself and Aaron Isherwood. We've been here for a few days now, it's 9 days in total, and this event brings together 8 disciplines, 8 unions of scientists that cover the two subjects of geodesy and geophysics. So there's a lot of discussion going on about seismology, volcanology, right through to how our solar system is behaving, etc. So for our report, I wanted to emphasize the type of intervention that we're having specifically on the questions of these recent earthquakes and the need to change what we're doing to become more informed and more in tune with what our galaxy is doing so we can predict earthquakes. So we've been doing two things here. We've been getting out a DVD of the latest videos from the LaRouche Pack basement, and we've been getting out a booklet with our material, which has been well received by everyone that we've been talking to. So now, there's a few things I want to cover in this report. The first one is the showdown around this question of earthquake precursors and looking at the science, the physical science around earthquake predictability. There is a reaction from the established, acceptable, what is considered the acceptable seismology establishment, or you could call it the priesthood, that predictability of earthquakes and precursory science to earthquakes is rubbish science. And you have basically a philosophical split between two categories that are self-described as being the pessimists and the optimists. Now on this pessimist side, people like David Jackson and Walter Mooney, these are the guys in the field of statistical probability forecasting for earthquakes. These are the ones who have been carrying on the usual type of earthquake forecasting, where you've seen has failed to prepare countries for these recent types of earthquakes, these larger earthquakes. And so on the one side you have them, and on the other side you have the optimists, or the self-described optimists, around this question of predicting and precursory science, which includes people like Uzanov, Poulinets, Biaggi, there are many others that I could mention that we're intersecting here. And now what you have with this pessimistic crowd is the typical bread-fed scholar mentality that Friedrich Schiller describes. And on the other hand, you have those who are looking for a sense of a Keplerian approach, taking what we don't know, looking into the physical causes. Instead of just trying to plot things on a graph, instead of just trying to get a statistical probability, looking at science as it should be about looking into the actual causes of things. So there's a real parallel here. There's a parallel to what we're right now confronting with economics. In economics, you have what LaRouche and Lyndon LaRouche has been doing for decades, which is focusing on the physical economy. Physical economy meaning we've got to look at what is our relationship as human beings to the galaxy. Are we making sure that we're going from lower platforms of scientific capability to higher ones? Now this is a physical measure. And on the other hand, you have those who are in the traditional economic forecasters who rely on statistics and rely on an assumption that we cannot know how this universe works. All we can do is follow the laws of pleasure and pain. And it's similar to what is reflected by these pessimists in the field of seismology who say, yes, we're in a galaxy, yes, we're in a solar system, they do have an effect on our Earth, but we can never know how they influence earthquakes, and even if that's just rubbish science. So those are the things to recognise. This is a philosophical fight that goes right across disciplines. So what are some of the anomalies that we've been finding with these recent earthquakes? Now, we've had, over the last years, a continuing emphasis that the current system does not work. Let's look at them. You've had Sumatra in 2004, a magnitude 9 earthquake that killed over 200,000 human beings. You had Chile in 2010. You've had Christchurch this year. You had Haiti in 2010, which also killed hundreds of thousands of people. You've had the recent Japan earthquake in a region which you would think would be completely prepared for such an event. However, they didn't see this coming. Now, why is that? Well, statistical forecasting of earthquakes can only give a 1% probability for these types of events. It is too uncertain, and that's reflected by everyone. It's totally inadequate. And what you see coming out here at this event is that these earthquakes have many anomalies and precursory phenomena that have been explored, and they're being looked at. By no means conclusive at this stage, but that is what's happening. One thing that was mentioned by Walter Mooney was that the Haiti earthquake of 2010 defied all the expectations of the field in seismology. It didn't follow any of the normal rules, the normal models, and for that they can't explain it. So that begs the question, if these types of earthquakes occur, and they have great implications for all of the historical models, looking right back to paleo, back in archaeological history for earthquakes, that all of this has to be re-looked at because of this one earthquake showing that it defied all our models. So if that's the situation, how can we find a comfort in this method, this statistical method? Obviously we can't. So one thing I'll just add to this question of the recent earthquakes. You have in Italy the ongoing trial of scientists in connection to the L'Aquila earthquake some years ago. And I put out a question: is the reaction in L'Aquila from the government there a reaction to this stale, fixed system of probability that is not working? Is there right now a push, and is there a sense that we could know more if we broaden the discussion, if we stop acting like bread-fed scholars, if we go in and look at these precursory phenomena from a serious standpoint? Now so that's an open question. Is that why this is occurring now? Now, 2 days ago, I was able to attend an interesting showdown between the pessimists and optimists here at this event. And it was very clear from the very beginning of that there was no intention of resolving this philosophical disagreement between statistics and physical phenomena. You had why do I say this is a political operation? This meeting that was decided, it was designed to bring together the union of IUGG, which looks at seismology in the Earth's interior. It was designed to bring them together around a common motion, put out a unified voice of where we have to go from here. And it broke down. It broke down. This event was moderated by David Jackson, and he described himself there as a pessimist. And what you saw was, with these scientists in attendance, the discussion was never meant to be successful. It occurred days before Professor Uzanov, Hobara, and Caldera, and other scientists were scheduled to present their investigations on precursory phenomena with earthquakes. This meeting to put out a general voice occurred before the discussion had even taken place. And there was a real resistance against talking about any form of predictability of earthquakes at that meeting. And that's the general atmosphere you have. So under that type of oppression and under that type of resistance, is there any wonder why we're still at this point? So that's one thing. This is the general dynamic that we're encountering, and we are organising both sides. We're organising and communicating to both sides to make sure that we can elevate the discussion and bring out this philosophical problem that we've got. Now, shifting over, I want to talk about one other important issue that we've been running into a lot here at IUGG, is the question of the solar minimum. Now, there's been several reports coming out of research in the United States, accompanied by also a report by Abu Samatov, I believe from Russia. And there's a level of expectation that we're going into a solar minimum, potentially another Maunder minimum. And this whole talk has completely freaked out the global warming theorists, the global warming modelers, those who believe that man-made, it's human beings causing the climate to change. They've gone into a complete operation to try and cover over this speculation. And I was able to attend a discussion put on by a Mr. Fulner of the Potsdam Institute. And this is the same Potsdam Institute in Germany, which is headed up by Hans Schellenhuber. And his presentation was basically trying to say that the sun plays really no role in temperature on Earth, that the Maunder minimum would only have an impact on the climate by maybe 0.3 degrees in the next century. And he used this argument based on total solar irradiance. And so what you had was an attempt to cover over this thing. There was no discussion about the magnetic role of the sun, the magnetic role which was involved in the Maunder minimum. That was just completely not even addressed. And so this is coming out as an attempted cover-up. Because what are the implications of this? You have right now internationally people like Hans Schellenhuber and others who are trying right now to push through a fascist program to shut down industry, to deindustrialize the world. They believe that the world should only have 2 billion people or less. This is what Schellenhuber has said on record. This is why he is was given a knighthood from the Queen. And he's doing the bidding of the British Empire, people like Prince Philip, who say that if they were to be reincarnated, they want to be returned as deadly viruses, or he wants to be returned as a deadly virus to solve overpopulation. So that whole school of global warming is in a freak out. The science on that question is not conclusive. We don't know whether the sun will go into another Maunder minimum. The evidence points towards that it very well might, and we don't know what the outcome will be. However, there is a hysterical denial of that for that reason. So this is the type of thing that we're intervening here on the ground, down under, and we've got several more days of organising here to do, plenty more to be reported on later, so I'll leave it at that. Thanks for